The following episode is brought to you by Poison City Brewing, proud makers of Durban Poison Cannabis Lager, the beer that invites you to live your poison. Sweet, how's it going, guys? My name is Nasiphi, Zwane, and I'm back again with another episode of Sludge Underground podcast. And I'm really excited to let you guys know that on Sludge Underground, we are no strangers to SAMA Award nominees and SAMA Award winners in general. And today, the particular person that we've got on the show is a SAMA nominee. And that's one of the points that I'm actually going to be wanting us to talk about. But before we start, I'm going to let Homie introduce himself, and then we're going to continue from there to learn more about him. My brother, how is everything going?
No, I'm good, my bro. How are you?
Hey, man. Can't complain, bro. Super excited for this interview. So now, bro, just diving into that first point that I brought up there with the SAMA nomination, bro. That is something very huge. You know, we grew up watching SAMA Awards, you know, as kids. We saw, yeah, bro, and all the legend. And if you look at the category that you are actually in, you know, you're with some heavyweights, bro, like Matthew Flipping Mole, you know, or Joshua Auntie, bro. You know, how did it sort of feel, you know, when you first got the news, Uzi, dude, you are actually nominated. You're a SAMA nominee.
Honestly, bro, it was absolutely so surreal. I remember I had just taken a shower. It was in like late afternoon, around 4 or 5 o'clock. I just taken a shower, getting ready to go into the studio and do some work. And I just turned on my phone, just go through my Twitter feed. I'm like, hey, what's this? So normally I have about 5, 10 notifications a day, you know. Yo, that day it's like 50, 80, 100, you know, mentions. I'm thinking, what's going on here? Am I tagged on some thread or some nonsense, you know? How? Next thing I know, it's the list of SAMA nominations. I had to call 3 different people to please verify this. Please check if this thing is real. Am I dreaming or what's going on? And so it was absolutely mind-blowing. I went on to my emails. I got that email from SAMA themselves, just congratulating me on the nomination. It was just, oh man, that day was just amazing, bro. It was just amazing feeling.
I can imagine that, bro. And just looking at also just the album that actually, you know, earned you that nomination, Ilovedeepbreath. Obviously, you gave it to us, you know, last year, 2019 and whatnot. When you were creating, you know, that body of work, is it something that you expected? This is some SAMA, you know, SAMA type heavyweight type shit, bro. Did you foresee this happening, or was it just all part of the process?
Absolutely part of the process, bro. I know it sounds cliche, you know, when people, like you said, you mentioned earlier how we grew up watching the SAMAs and everything, and it's almost a cliche to hear people talking about how they did not expect to win. For me, I did not even expect to be nominated. I didn't even expect to think that, you know, the big dogs in the game would sit down and actually listen to that album. So when I was really in the process of making this album, it was a very dark period in my career, and I was actually at the verge of just throwing in the towel. I was ready to sell everything, and you know, I had to really sit down and just tell myself, "Yo, let's give this thing one more try." And I mean, if it doesn't work, at least you tried. You know what I mean? And so to get that validation from your peers, it was such an amazing feeling. Till today.
Yeah, bro, and I think it's something that a lot of listeners can actually take from as well, Lucy. You know, you can never give up, you know, and it's a nice, you know, success story, Lucy. As you were on the brink of just giving up, you know, something actually surfaced and you actually got something from it. You know, you mentioned, you know, going through the dark period, bro, and it's sort of, you know, being during the time when you were making Ilovedeepbreath. So just dive into that a bit more, bro. Like, what was going on? What was sort of the mindset? What triggered this? And obviously leading to Ilovedeepbreath, the way that it came out.
Okay, so Deep Breath is a band, right? It's a band in a concept. So I play multiple instruments. So when I say a band, I essentially mean myself in different roles. And of course, I have some mates of mine who help me out with, you know, to make the sound fuller and richer and so on. And so Deep Breath was actually born a long time ago. I was still in varsity. I was still at the UKZN studying jazz. I think I was in my second year of study at the time. And that's when I came up with the concept of starting a band, a one-man band, but accompanied by different, soloists, whether it be a vocalist or a saxophonist or a guitarist or whatever. So then, cut a long story short, Deep Breath has gone through 3 different band members. People have just dropped me along the way, decided to go either completely outside of music, or people deciding to go and start off their own solo careers. Just before this album, before I started working on this body of album, I had just hit another brick wall where people would just, put up their deuces on me, literally, and again, I mean, having gone through it before with other members in the band, it was a time in my life where I had to self-introspect just to check, am I doing something wrong, Yeah. Why does this thing keep on happening? And so I guess the light, that's when I saw the light, that actually perhaps I just need to run with this thing on my own and go back to the original concept of the band, of Deep Breath being a band, but a one-man band, and just rotating solos, And when I started doing that, and I just got out of this commercial, or wanting to be commercial, wanting to be, clout, was it Moses? I saw Moses' tweet the other day, one of my favorite artists, and he says, clout killed the kids. And when I saw that, and that resonated with me, to say, just make music from the heart and just make art from the heart. And that's where I started from. I literally started back from the ground and slowly just building one brick at a time.
And obviously, bro, being like a one-man band, like, how do you sort of go about, live shows and whatnot? You didn't mention, Uti, when you're creating a body of work of some sort, you do get your mates to come through and sort of assist you and whatnot. Is it the same setup, maybe with like live performances where, you have to perform some of your stuff and it's stuff that you've written, on your own, playing different instruments and whatnot? How do you sort of get around that?
Yeah, in a live setup, it's quite interesting. It's absolutely fun. Obviously, now we live in a technological era, and thank God for technology. We are able to utilize things like click tracks or backing tracks, or some sort of computerized or pre-programmed mechanism so that I can sync into. So what usually happens is, when I'm performing my own music, is I would take away some elements like drums, I'll take away keyboards, I'll take away some parts of also like the main lead vocal, I'll take it away, because then I'll have a lead vocalist, or I'll leave the backgrounds, or while I'm playing keyboards, I'll be the background vocals, I'll back the leader, whilst we're playing over a loop, some sort of a loop machine that I loop on stage. I don't know if you're familiar with FKJ.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's something similar to that.
Hey, bro, that's a really cool setup. And something interesting you actually mentioned as well was UKZN and studying jazz. And the one pattern that I've actually noticed, one of the other guys that we actually had on the show, his name is Josh Scott. He used to play drums for Gangs of Ballet when they were still together. So Josh, and Josh also studied music like at UKZN. And it's sort of like, how much of you going to UKZN would you attribute to your success, as an artist and being as good of an artist that you are?
I don't know if as good, but I mean, thank you, I suppose. That's a compliment. But I attribute a lot of it to studying music. A lot of what I do stems from, understanding just the fundamentals of music, just music theory. You'll give a lot of this time, you'll find young, up and coming, boys and girls who are starting to make tracks. But, the songs, you can see the direction that they want to take, but it does not make, just musical sense, where the vocalist will be on one key, the keyboards and the harmonies on another key. Those are just fundamentals that you can learn. So when I started to iron all of that stuff out at UKZN, that's when I started to actually really see which direction I wanted to take. One of my favorite lectures, actually, in one of the assignments that we had to submit in second year, actually pulled me aside and told me, dude, this is the line that you need to follow. This is the direction that you need to follow. And since then, man, I've just ran with it and haven't stopped.
One thing, this is just a question for me, like just myself. I've heard very mixed sort of, gotten back, mixed feedback from various different artists, because, you'll find that in the music scene, you'll find artists who are completely self-taught, and then you'll find artists who actually, studied and whatnot. Would you say, and one of the things that often comes up is that, once you apply theory to something, it's sort of, like theory and structure, it sort of takes the fun away from it. Coming from someone else who has also now studied this, would you resonate with that? Would you say that is true, or is it more of, or is it like completely different from that? It actually enhances the experience for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a bit of both. For me, I believe in improvised music. Yeah, I believe in spontaneous inspiration. I absolutely believe in that, that once you start to almost mathematically, or scientifically construct a song, that it takes away from the soul. Like, I love soulful music that in the first 5-10 seconds, the song has to like give me goosebumps. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I believe those kind of songs or that kind of music comes from people who really dive into just, spontaneous creativity in the moment, be in the moment. So when I'm in studio, when I'm starting from scratch, I'm always improvising. I'm always trying to figure out melodies, trying to find melodies, whether it's off key or not on key, it doesn't matter. Whether it's on beat, different time signatures, whether it's, that's why usually in those moments I'm by myself in a very dark room so that I can just get into the zone. And once I find, like a progression or a melody, something that resonates with me, and then I start to apply then the mathematics behind it, so that it does not, it just sounds like it's rubbish. So that's when I'll start to put the formulas together to say, okay, 8 bars, 4 bars, chorus, a loop, all the terms, the jargon. That's when I start to apply it over something that's been spontaneously created.
That is very beautiful that you sort of like you combine the two, the more sort of free flow type thing, and then you apply what you've learned. That is really dope, bro. So like a little birdie actually told me that you actually wrote a certain theme song of a certain show on national television. Shout out to that little birdie. That person knows who she is. We won't mention names. We'll definitely thank her when the show is over. But yeah, bro, tell me a bit about that. What show is it that you wrote the song for, and how did that actually come about?
So I've actually written a lot of theme songs and a lot of different shows on TV, background music. In fact, that's where my passion is. I'm not so much. I mean, I love performing. I love performing to a crowd or whatever. But I think if I were to be given an option, do you wanna, perform at Coachella, or do you wanna compose music for Game of Thrones? You know what I mean? Yeah. I would 100% prefer to write music for Game of Thrones or for TV, background music. The type of music that you hear, but you don't really know who composed it, or, it doesn't matter. So I've actually done a lot of stuff. I started when I was in my first year. A friend of mine he works in one of the production houses, he heard some of my composition and approached me to start up a company with him to, compose music for different shows that he was working on. And at the time, those shows were Kumbule Kaya, Big Time, Run With It, all SABC shows, TV shows. About like different. The one Kabelo was the presenter of as well. Some of the shows I forget. So I've written a lot of these songs that are, in the background. or either theme songs or whatever. And I'm still heavily involved in that as well. I'm actually working on an international show right now, which obviously, because of non-disclaimers that I've not been released from, I can't mention it. But it's an HBO special, season 3. So that is my first international break. And I look forward to working more and more in composition for television and radio.
Do you feel that, composers and people who compose sort of music for TV shows and whatnot, do you think they get enough credit, in the industry?
In the industry, yes, but not so much in the public, because people don't know who those people are, and quite frankly, people don't really care. I mean, in the Grammys, for example, there's a whole day that they dedicate to technical awards. That's the day before the Grammys. They give out awards to composers, assistant composers, engineers, post-production engineers, all the technical stuff that people don't really care about. Those awards actually go out the day before. I'm not too sure if we do that as well in South Africa, but I wish we did. I wish a lot of mixing engineers, mastering engineers, DOPs, composers, assistant composers, music editors. I wish all those people as well had a whole separate, awards day where they are recognized, because, if you watch anything on TV right now, it wouldn't make sense without the music. It wouldn't make sense without the effects that you hear. Imagine somebody getting punched on a show and then you don't hear that sound. You know what I mean? And it's a lot of work goes into that.
Yeah, and I obviously just assume that it's not. I mean, what are sort of the fundamentals of this? Because I don't think it's literally just going to study jazz. I feel like it's something we were actually talking about with Uzama before this interview started. It's sort of picking the right sort of sound for, like you say, like the punch is a perfect example. Like if someone had to punch someone and you sort of just ho in effect hlampe of like a flying bird or something, it doesn't make any sense and stuff. So I'd like to believe it's just more than about studying. Sort of what else goes into it? Like, what is it that that you need to know mhlampe on over and above whatever it is that you study?
I think you just need to be you just need to know what mood you are trying to evoke on the listener or on the viewer. A lot of the music that we do for TV, for movies and series in particular, it's to evoke a certain emotion. So I'll give you a perfect example. There was a show I was working on. Again, it's a reality show. And they wanted to so the people are actually arguing in that one particular scene. And the music that I wrote for that scene was like tense, very tense music, dramatic, a lot of drums, a lot of percussive stuff. And then when I sent it back to the producers, they sent it back to me to say, no, actually, that's not the feel we are going for. We want it to be a laughable sort of, the audience must be able to laugh at these people arguing. You know what I mean? So I had to go back now and change all of that and add pianos, like light sort of instruments, flutes, so as a composer, you're always trying to evoke an emotion so if for anybody who wants to get into writing and composing for TV, I'd say you just need to be aware of everything that you are watching. That's why if you and I were to go to a movie, dog, I'd be the worst person to watch a movie with. Literally half the time, I need to watch a movie 3 or 4 times for me to actually get what is actually happening. Because the first time I'm watching it, I'm listening out for everything. What the background noise, how this was recorded, microphone techniques. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how they did that. I'm trying to figure out how they got that particular sound. And I'm just like making mental notes while this thing is going through. And I'm not even following the storyline, you know what I mean? So most of the time, I find it hard to watch a movie or a series with anybody. I'm usually by myself, just watching it 3 or 4 times. I don't know if you're familiar with the Sons of Anarchy.
Bro, that is one of the greatest of all time series, bro. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, you'll not believe how, if I tell you I've watched that thing over 10 times, the entire thing, all 6 seasons of the thing, trying to figure out what is going on here. That's absolutely one of my favorite technically recorded or produced series of, yeah.
This is really beautiful. You're really right when you say, Wuti, like composition, in sort of mainstream or in the public audience isn't really something that is, often spoken about. And I'm very intrigued actually in this conversation right now, because it sort of leads me to wanting to know, like, who are some of the greats, like all time greats that you look up to when it comes to, the music, composition for movies and series and all that. Who are some of the legends that you say, that guy there, he did the most type thing?
I mean, there are obviously, the top, I'd say top 3 greatest composers of all time. Your Hans Zimmer's, guys who've written for, is it Batman, Spider-Man. Hans Zimmer's written a whole lot of movies actually that a lot of people know of. At the top of my head, I can mention what else? Hans Zimmer's written for Gladiator. He's written for Inception. Do you remember Inception?
Yeah.
He's written Interstellar, The Lion King in '94. He's written a whole lot of stuff. He's actually one of the most renowned composers in the world.
Yeah.
And then there's like John Williams that I also listen out to and then, try to find their work. He's written for Star Wars. He's written for Jaws. Yeah, guys like that, man, I listen out to a lot. He's written for Jurassic Park. Those are some of the names that I definitely look out for. And there's a name, I always, it's at the tip of my tongue. I always forget him. But he's written for the Boondocks. I forget the guy's name now. But yeah, he's also one of my favorite music composers for music.
Yazi, when you mention Hans Zimmer, one thing I like, just a comment in passing. One of my favorite sort of producers from a production angle is Tyler the Creator. I think Tyler the Creator is out of this world, and he's actually worked with the Hans Zimmer, and I think Tyler is a genius. So anyone who's gonna say Hans Zimmer is one of the artists or one of the composers that they look up to, you're a genius. So bro, you're a genius to me. Just looking at your career path, the career path that you've chosen in terms of your composition and making music, studying jazz, it's very different, when you look at, growing up in a black home. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the usual stuff. This often comes up with some of the artists that we've had on. Become a doctor, become a lawyer. So for you back home, how did they sort of handle you wanting to be like, dude, I want to make music, I want to do this, I want to do that?
I mean, at first as well. So my family is heavily into business. My dad is a businessman, and my mom is into numbers a lot. So initially, when I wanted to step out and study music, it was obviously hostile at home. But the weird thing is that I've been doing music since I was in primary school. I was singing in the choir. I was playing in the band, when we were cheerleading, and I was one of the band. So I didn't understand how they did not see that coming. In church, I was heavily involved with the band as well. So when I finished matric and I wanted to get into sound engineering at first, actually, I did a 3-year degree in sound before I studied music. That was kind of an on and off thing at home, because they also expected me to either to do an MBA or get into business. So, I mean, in my second year of sound engineering, I got the chance to, study with the Red Bull Music Academy. I think that's when everything started to take shape for me, and they started to take me seriously. I was featured in the Y magazine, and I think that's when they started to take me seriously, to say, oh, actually, maybe there's something there, and now I haven't looked back since.
Beautiful, bro. And just obviously looking at your experience, I like to think that as human beings, we learn from every experience and the things that we go through. For you having, been in an atmosphere where you are composing music for some of the biggest shows, in South Africa, under the SABC and all that, what would you say this industry has sort of taught you that you were sort of blind to, before you started? I mean, just as sort of like a reference to anyone who might be, looking up to you and wanting to go down the same path, and maybe they encounter something, that they weren't expecting. What is it that you've learned throughout the years?
I've just learned a couple of things, man. I've learned a few things over the years. I've learned that, you've got to keep your head down. At the end of the day, you've just got to make sure that you're making music. Forget the nonsense, forget the hype, forget the clout, forget trending, forget the hashtags. At the end of the day, it all boils down to your music. It all boils down to, do you have it? You know what I mean? And just, secondly, it just all boils down to humility. Like you just gotta, again, keep your circle small. I was unfortunate at the early stage of my career that I was surrounded by a lot of people, a lot of mates in the industry, and I quickly realized that it's not so much all these people around me that are contributing to what it is that I'm trying to do or the journey that I'm trying to embark on. And when I started to make the circle smaller instead of making the circle bigger, that's when started to actually get onto the path that made me happy. And it's just weird. It's weird for me when I look back now and I realize how when I started to make my circle smaller, how that it invited the right people into my life, people that wanted to invest more, people that wanted to invest into the journey that I was making. And so, yeah, man, that would be my take on it in the industry. Just make sure you surround yourself with the right people. Just make sure you're making music all the time.
That is 100%, bro. And what would you say, we almost at the end, what would you say you locked down, or rather, what challenges would you say, this pandemic has sort of come with, and how have you sort of, overcome them?
Well, it's honestly come with, ups and downs. Obviously, I'll start with the downs. The downs were that, obviously we can't do live shows. We can't, go out that much anymore. We can't, interact with people that much. But it's also taught me the importance of intellectual property, owning your own intellectual property, of passive income. It's taught me the absolute importance of making sure that you're investing in passive income, so that if there's a day where I am unable to perform or go to shows, I will still be able to earn an income via royalties, via needle time. This is another thing that I'll advise, a lot of young artists to invest in the time. The amount of time that you're investing in studio, invest triple that in understanding, the business side of the music. It's absolutely crucial. Bro, you won't believe I got an email about a week ago from Samro telling me that there's songs that I composed in 2016 that I still haven't been paid for because I didn't fill out the forms the right way. I didn't fill out the publisher the right way. I didn't specify who the publisher was when I specified somebody else on the radio station that they were playing. There was just a mix-up that, that was my fault. You know what I mean? So, this pandemic has taught me to actually get the admin stuff out the way first. Make sure you understand the business side of music first before you want to be a superstar, I guess.
I think that is some very sound advice, bro, especially, with how people are often sort of robbed of, royalties and things that they're very deserving of. I think that's a really good point that you brought up there, bro. Just to close it off now, I think we'd be doing an injustice if we don't bring up this massive social issue, considering that we are in South Africa and, the pandemic is not the only thing we're facing. We got the gender-based violence, bro. So what sort of role would you say, Thato has been playing in sort of, fighting that, if any at all?
Oh man, honestly wish I had Una says one mic. All I need is one mic. I wish I had. I wish the president can give me, 30 minutes to speak on this issue in Parliament to address, the nation. It is absolutely heartbreaking what is happening right now in our country. So I've got a 2-year-old son, and I remember when this whole thing started. I remember just posting his picture up on social media, just praying to God, please help me, help me. How do I teach this boy to do the right thing, to not be a DICK in public, to not be, this murderer of women. We need women. Listen, I am nothing without a woman, and if we remove women out of the world, listen, I will be the first one to leave. I'm not trying to stay in a world without women. You know what I mean? So this whole thing that is going on with gender-based violence, it gives me a lump in my throat, bro. I wish there was something I could do more on a mass basis. Obviously, in my small circle of friends, we talk about it, and it's an issue that we bring up all the time to say this is wrong, guys. This should stop. But I feel like we need to address it in a more serious manner and literally put our foot down. The president needs to put his foot down and literally say it's enough. Enough is enough. This has to stop, So, and I think it begins with just us guys understanding that trash talking women, or I don't know what there's a term for it, when you see a girl and you nasty comments and like catfishing and all of that it starts with us realizing actually that stuff is not cool, the stuff that guys talk about, behind, closed doors, that stuff is not cool, gents. We can't be thinking about women in that light. We can't be thinking that women are objects in that way. That's the mindset that needs to change, that we are equals with women. They are not subordinates to males. Yeah. So that's where I'd start.
And I really like the point that you brought up there. And I think it's something that is often overlooked with this whole situation, and that it does start at home with you having a son and you were just praying, that he doesn't become, one of these monsters, bro. And with him, with you, with the rights, being raised under the right hand and being, having a father such as yourself, bro. It's up to us as the fathers and whatnot, bro. And it's up to just families at home to sort of, groom their children to not become the monsters. So bro, I think you're playing a really big role in that. I think it's quite evident. And yeah, bro, as you say, bro, I echo every single thing you were saying. It needs to be stopped, and it was really dope just getting your perspective of that as well. And I really hope that anyone that's listening also just takes it seriously and plays their role as well. Listen, Holmes, we did often we're going to be closing out now, and earlier we did talk quite a bit about Eat Deep Breath and what was sort of the influence and everything that went behind it. I'd like for us to close out with one of the tracks on there. Give me your favorite track from Eat Deep Breath, and sort of so that we're able to play out with it, and sort of why that particular track. Just give us a bit of insights on that one before we get all your handles and whatnot.
Oh man, that whole album is my favorite. We can play. Is it track 5? If I remember correctly, it's called Retro Love. It's one of my favorite songs. It just speaks about like old school love. That old school love where you just wanted to take your girl out to the movies, that's a retro love. It's literally that, a retro love, Yeah. So, yeah.
2000s will know nothing about that. I mean, I was born in 96, and even I know about that. So, yeah, I think they need to take notes when it comes to that retro love, bro, and taking women out to movies. Hey, bro, listen, so just give us your handles, bro. Where can people, get in touch with you to learn more about you, all your music, all your social media handles? Now's the time, bro.
Instagram, I Love Deep Breath, all one word, I Love Deep Breath. Twitter, I Love Deep Breath. YouTube, I Love Deep Breath. Spotify, I Love Deep Breath. iTunes, Apple Music, I Love Deep Breath. All one word, I Love Deep Breath.
Hey, that is proper, bro. Before we close out, are there any shout outs that you want to give real quick, bro?
Shout out to my manager, Zama. Peace. Love you.
Oh, yeah, sweet. That is nice, sweet, and short. And yeah, I'd also just, in closing, I want to just thank you, bro, for, allowing me to have this chat with you. Bro, you've brought me onto something that I was completely unaware of in music composition and scoring and whatnot, bro. That is something I'm actually really just gonna follow and do some research on. It's very interesting, through the things that you were saying and just your whole story in general, bro. It's really amazing. I hope everyone else has been listening, enjoyed it as much as I have. So thank you once again, bro, for coming through to the show.
Thank you, Mikey. Thank you for having me. Thank you to all the listeners.
Oh, we're solid. I'd like to also just thank Zama for getting this, organizing this. You're a gem. Thank you so much. And guys, obviously we're going to be closing out. This episode is going to be available on SoundCloud. On SoundCloud, your Sludge Underground podcast. On Apple Podcast, Sludge Underground podcast. Do give us a review. And obviously social media, Facebook, Sludge Underground, and Twitter at Sludge031, and on Instagram at Sludge Underground. Guys, we're closing out. I am at Zwane031 on every bit of social media. Until next time, guys, we're closing out with Retro Love. So until next time, it is bye for now. I met you in a city full of lights. I swear this happens once in a lifetime. Yeah. Cameras are on and they flashing. Yes sir, that's her. Looking so extraterrestrial. Man, I might just have to call up NASA. And I ain't mad at your makeup, nah. Or the way you got your heels on, nah. Or the way you got your hair done. It all goes well with your halo. You an angel. Everywhere you go, you be the main show. Crazy cause you always try to lay low. Humble as the neighborhood you came from. Oh, and you know how it goes. A real diamond never brags about the way it glows. In one word, you're a miracle. This is your song, baby, here we go. Abafana nawe bathola galapina. I met you in a city full of lights. I swear this happens once in a lifetime. Stand out, those lights got nothing on you, and you don't even know it. Yeah. The way you stand out, those stars got nothing on you, and you don't even know it. The way you stand out, those lights got nothing on you, and you don't even know it. The way you stand out, those stars got nothing on you. Take it all off. Okay, let's not go there. The night is still young and the camera's rolling. Looking at you like we got one night only. One night only. Baby, don't be shy. Go ahead and do it all for me. Do it all for me. No lie, shawty be the truth, pull out a red carpet every time she pull up. It's never red bottoms whenever her shoes on. She never say nothing when they ask who pulls on, eh. I just hope you having a good time, yeah. Summertime vibes, baby, gumnande. So go ahead, do your thing, shawty haters gon' hate, nah, nah, nah. Abafana nawe bathola galapina. Bathola galapi, babe. Bathola galapi, babe. I met you in a city full of lights. I swear this happens once in a lifetime. Yeah. The way you stand out, those lights got nothing on you, and you don't even know it. Yeah. The way you stand out, those stars got nothing on you, and you don't even know it. The way you stand out, those lights got nothing on you, and you don't even know it. The way you stand out, those stars got nothing on you.